All right, everyone. As promised, I'm going to do a weekly vlog for 4 weeks about the New York Times op-ed pages, what I think about different articles, maybe criticizing some of the articles, and I'll link the video of why I'm doing this in the description and in one of the corners or something. But the super TLDR of it all is one of the New York Times op-ed page editors, in fact, their head editor, said that a article written by Tom Cotton was not read or edited before publication. And everyone was like, the editors aren't editing the articles? What? And yeah, basically it wasn't a surprise to me because I've read some of their columns in the past, which don't seem edited, in my opinion. And I go over that in detail in a video about a David Brooks article that was over 20 minutes long and had it definitely needed content edits for sure, as some of the sentences made literally no sense, particularly in the context, but even outside of the context, I don't know what he was thinking. But yeah, this is my week 0 vlog video to see, hey, what do I think about these writers? Do I have any preconceived notions about how good or bad they are at either writing or how thought-provoking they are? Stuff like that. And my goal is, in the future videos, to start everyone with a clean slate, give everyone a fair chance to change my mind, but I do want to air my dirty laundry on some writers and air my clean laundry on other writers, or talk about what I think about writers, you know. And some of their writers I actually don't remember reading, so there'll be like a section of writers where I have a totally open mind, even though I'm going to try to have an open mind about everyone as well. But without further ado, let's get into the tier list portion of this video. All right, what is up, everyone? We're going to try to do this in one recording. First tier list video, although the whole video isn't dedicated to this tier list. This is kind of just like a preliminary thing, but I specifically did no research for this. I didn't research or read any of these people's articles in the last few weeks, but I do have preconceived notions of some of these people. The people down here in the question mark tier, I've either never read them or don't remember reading them, or have read so little of them that I'm not confident putting them in a tier list. Everyone down here, well, we're about to talk about them now. Just to go over my tiers, this is like top tier. Someone in this tier, I will read their article if I see it. Although, I mean, I don't usually go looking in the New York Times to try to find articles because I'm not a subscriber and you only get a certain number. Good tier, good, like it. They're at least a solid writer with interesting, great ideas, or they're like a fantastic writer who may not be super interesting, but they don't do anything bad and they're a good writer. That's probably good enough to be in good. And they have to bring something to the table ideologically, though. They can't just the centrist go along to get along position without defending it. Those people, they're milquetoast, they're not interesting, or they sometimes have good ideas, but their execution in terms of writing style is not good enough to make them a captivating writer for me. Bad. Ooh, just not good. Yeah, I don't know. It's just not good. I don't know how else to describe the tier. Dangerous. So people in this tier, the Tom Cotton op-ed could be classified as dangerous because it's like advocating against the First Amendment. Like, if you do that, you're in dangerous. I want to explain the difference between bad and dangerous. So let's say someone writes an author profile of Brandon Sanderson and it's not good, multiple factual inaccuracies, not well written, very confusing to read, all of that. Bad tier. Problematic or dangerous tier happens. Let's say you do a similarly bad profile, But of someone like Jair Bolsonaro, president of Brazil, or like Nicolas Maduro, if you don't say anything bad about them or push back against some of the things they've said and done, then that's problematic and dangerous, right? Because you're portraying them as someone who's like doing a good or at least okay job. Whereas, like, if you look at Brazil, for instance, Jair Bolsonaro's advocated for the reimplementation of military dictatorship, um, social issues, extremely dangerous, very homophobic. He honestly, I know people hyperventilate about Trump, some of the things he says, but Bolsonaro said he'd rather have his gay son die in a car accident than come out as gay. This is the type of person we're talking about in this Brazil example. So if you do like a neutral profile of like this horrendous person, that's like literally dangerous. So let's get started. Bret Stephens, dangerous. When this guy was hired by the Times, it was a scandal. This man is a climate change denier. And I mean, so strike one, you're out. But it showed the ideology of the Times as well, because they had Bret Stephens and they got backlash because they're like, you hired a climate change denier. They're like, I mean, it's okay to have different opinions, but like that's not an opinion that makes any sense. It's like anti-science. What are you doing? And they're like, well, it won't get past our editorial boards. Any of his anti-science opinions, and like, I haven't read all his articles. Maybe he hasn't stated any anti-climate change, science, whatever beliefs at the New York Times, but I mean, it's still a dangerous belief to have just because, I mean, it's anti-science. Also, like, he wrote, I think, 2 articles about like this one professor who said something. I don't even know what they said, but it was, so first of all, it had 9 likes, and you're writing for the New York Times. If you write about it, it goes to hundreds of thousands of people. So if it is problematic, you shouldn't be writing about it. If it isn't problematic, then why the heck are you writing about it, right? It just doesn't make any sense. So he's worst of the worst as far as I know. Oh man, I can't talk about David Brooks yet. All right, we're gonna go with Jamal Bowie. Bowie. I'm sorry, Jamal. Um, but yeah, S tier. This man is basically Black Superman. I mean, look at him. But in addition to that, he's a great writer. He knows so much about history. I just learn so much from him, and he incorporates it super well into what's going on in the world now. I don't think I've seen him write about something that he doesn't know that much about. I forget who he wrote for before the Times, but he was good with them too. I think it might have been Slate. But yeah, he's like a newer Times hire. So is Bret Stephens. So they're like really like pulling on both sides of my heartstrings with these two in the last 2 or 3 years or whatever. All right, fine. We'll talk about David Brooks. All right. In dangerous, definitely higher than Bret Stephens. On the less dangerous side, like like, yeah, worst of the worst, like I said. David Brooks, I mean, okay. So you have to say something pretty stupid to be featured at the beginning of a ContraPoints video. And yes, I'm talking about the Jordan Peterson article that he wrote. And it shows a fundamental issue with the way David Brooks writes in terms of positions he takes. So he doesn't take positions, which is fine, I guess, if you don't talk about anything controversial. Like that would put you in milquetoast, right? You're just talking about like fairly met ideas, and the ideas aren't like problematic. It might put you in bad too if you're not writing about them well. But if you write about Jordan Peterson and you don't like combat any of the super problematic things he says, like what are you doing? I know maybe I'm being too hard on Brooks because I'm a psychology major and Brooks isn't. But I mean, Peterson is like a psychology professor, right? Like that's like his ties to source literature on any of this, right? And Peterson doesn't, he continually, for the, as far as I know, ever continues to or misdefine gender dysphoria And that's like in the DSM. He's just not using the current DSM's definition. He's using one from like, I don't know, long time ago, maybe. And Brooks doesn't call that out in his article about Jordan Peterson. I wouldn't say he's like praising Jordan Peterson, but he's not combating him in any way. And so, like, Jordan Peterson, not like a history major or political science major or professor or anything like that, but he talks about politics all the time. This is where Brooks should crush him, or at least like be like, maybe this guy doesn't totally know what he's talking about when it comes to politics. And I remember Brooks was bringing up like extremely dumb claims from Jordan Peterson that were about like politics and history. And he just wasn't like being like, wow, maybe this guy shouldn't talk about like politics or history. If Brooks specifically wanted to talk about Jordan Peterson from like a self-help angle, I wouldn't be being this hard on Brooks. I don't care about Jordan Peterson's self-help stuff. In fact, I agreed with Brooks's characterization. If I remember that article correctly, that his Jordan Peterson self-help stuff is just, whatever. But like you let like the dumbest political stuff that he said pass through without combating it. And I forgive me, I forget the stupid things Jordan Peterson said that Brooks was quoting in his article, but I was just like, ugh. All right, we got to move on. Maureen Dowd. I don't know Maureen Dowd as well as like Brooks or Bowie. I think she's pretty milquetoast though. She did post some of her reporting on Michael Bloomberg's mayoral run in 2001. And I'm like, actually, this is pretty good. But I think that was just when she was just a reporter. I've listened to her a few times. Her opinions, they're not like great or whatever, but she is a pretty good writer. So, milk toast. If she was like a meh writer with meh ideas, she would probably go in bad, but, milk toast. Michelle Goldberg also kind of has meh ideas, but like she defends them better than Maureen Dowd, in my opinion. Like she has the milk toast ideas, but it feels like they're genuine ideas rather than the easiest position for a New York Times writer to hold. And she's a I like her writing style. I don't know why. I don't read her that much, so maybe I'm a bit off here. But yeah. Oh, this guy. I'm sorry. This guy should be in question mark. Paul Krugman. This is a tough one for me. It really is. Because Krugman's all over the place. Like I remember watching a Democracy Now like quote unquote debate or something with Richard Wolff that wasn't really a debate. And Richard Wolff's is like a Marxist economist. And I'm like not like a huge Richard Wolff fan either. But Krugman went on there and like didn't talk about anything related to economics. He's just like, I agree with you, but like he clearly doesn't agree with Richard Wolff on economics. And Richard Wolff was trying to be like, I mean, he was trying to like point out areas of disagreement. And Krugman's like, no, I agree. We need like single payer healthcare. And then it's like, but like, it doesn't seem like he advocates for single payer healthcare. And he likes, if your position is like, yeah, single payer healthcare, I don't understand like his obsession with like half Bernie bashing, half saying like Bernie's okay. Because he's written like the same darn article so many times about Bernie Sanders being a social democrat. And it's not like a bad article because it basically says he calls himself a democratic socialist, but he's actually a social democrat. And there's a difference. And he explains the difference. And it's great. He just keeps recycling the topic though. So, and I don't think he's like an all right writer. I would say good, but like, it's because he's like a good enough writer to be in good, and he has unique ideas, but not like a whole lot of unique ideas, and his ideology is like weird and all over the place. Like if you're gonna go debate Richard Wolff and you're not a Bernie supporter, you've got to be like an anarchist or something. Like you've got to be like so far left, like a left anarchist. But like even Noam Chomsky endorsed Bernie Sanders, right? So it just doesn't make any sense. So we'll put him high milk toast because he says good things, particularly not in election seasons. All right, Ross Douthat. I don't know. I don't know him too. I don't know Ross's work too well, but I just remember being unimpressed. So I'm just gonna put him in bad. I could have put him in question mark. I could be convinced to put him in milk toast too. I just don't remember them well. I just remember having bad opinions of them overall. He could be in dangerous too. I haven't read enough of him to know, you know. Okay. And then New York Times editorial board articles. I'll admit, I don't think I've read one of these. I saw like, oops, sorry. I saw the clips of them interviewing the presidential candidates. I saw like the vote of the New York Times editorial page endorsement. I'm not sure like who did and didn't vote of the people here, or if it was just editors. Honestly, they had no one vote for Bernie Sanders. I I can't put it above milk toast just because of the lack of diversity in terms of like opinions and stuff. I do want to put it in S just for that guy asking Pete Buttigieg about exploiting bread or manipulating bread prices in Canada, and he was just so chill about it. I love that guy. Yeah, we'll put it in milk toast, although they could have some good articles, even if they're fundamentally flawed in the people they hire and the people they allow in the room, the people in the room are allowed to support. Especially for me, you know, I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter. But like even for someone who's not a Bernie Sanders supporter, you want that sort of diversity on there to see, hey, what is like, you know, one of the better editors in the country who's a Bernie Sanders supporter think about, you know, some of the articles coming through here. Yeah, that's the list. It's not too exciting just because there's not too many people on the not question mark area. And again, I'm going to try super hard to put my thoughts about Brooks, Stevens, Krugman, and Bowie behind me, give them a clean slate. It'll be weird because someone like Brett Stevens might not say his climate change denial stuff, but it's weird, like, just because he has those dangerous views, it'll be very difficult for me to put that behind me, but I will make it a strong attempt. Also, the New York Times has other opinion writers. I will read those. If someone has more than 2 articles, I will put them in the tier list I do at the end of the month. Yeah, I'll have more faces in here. These are just like the op-ed columnists who, you know, have the column twice a week or whatever. Other than the editorial board, this is the editorial board, but with like unpublished names but published articles. And yeah, hopefully Elizabeth Bruning gets to write 2 articles so I can put her in S tier. I'm kidding, of course, but maybe I'm not. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I hope I get to read her. Oh, and one more disclaimer, Michelle Goldberg. I have like isolated myself from reading any New York Times articles for the past 2 weeks because I knew I was doing this, so I wanted to try to get a clean slate. But I did see the title to an article by Michelle Goldberg, and I loved the title. It was something like, "Don't buy John Bolton's book, but listen to his claims." And it's like, yeah, you should not buy John Bolton's book. He's like a known abuser of people, of his staff. He makes belligerent comments. You know, yeah, we can't get started on John Bolton. But yeah, maybe that's coloring my judgment of Michelle Goldberg a little bit, but you know, maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, let me know. Do you guys want me to do more tier list outside of New York Times stuff? Let me know what you think of me subscribing to the Times for a month and reading all the opinion pieces. Do you think I should do this for the Washington Post as well? Let me know in the comments below. Maybe some other publication I should do this for. Should I do this for TV shows? Should I watch Rachel Maddow for a month? Should I watch Anderson Cooper for a month? Should I watch Sean Hannity for a month? These are things that, I would do for science. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Mondays will be the day that I'll be posting my New York Times reading vlog. So if you're already subscribed to the Times and want to read along, go ahead. And yeah, that's that. See ya.